Hey everyone, it's Rhonda here from Nelson Soapery. Today I'm going to come to you with a video all about how I'm making my beautiful little candles. So these ones are my new tins. So I'll give you a close-up look. So they are gorgeous, they are white and I really love them. So I did used to have a silver one and then I decided to change them up and keep with my theme behind me, which you can see it's all white. And honestly, this is all a part of growth. So this is what I say in lots of my videos. Don't feel scared to, change something about your business if you're not 100% loving it. And it's better to change it a little early on than too late on, because you don't want people to get used to your whole black range and then you decide, hey, actually, I want to be pink or purple or whatever color. So choose how your brand wants to look, and then, you can slowly make tweaks as you go along. So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to make these and how I've actually changed everything as well, including my labels. I'm changing them just a tiny bit, only on these white ones, and that way they'll match in beautifully with my really popular 400 gram extra large candles. So let's get into it and I'll show you exactly what we need to do and how we're going to make this. If you have any questions, please don't feel scared to ask me. Pop them down in the description box in the comments and I will always answer your questions back. And a little disclaimer, I'm not absolutely amazing, spectacular at candles, but they do sell and I do feel that they are a really lovely, luxury, beautiful candle in the end. So I just do my best and you learn as you go along. I have learned so much in a few years. And I will tell you, each time you make them, something new will happen and you'll think, oh gee, what did I do wrong? But sometimes it's just the environment and things that happen. So anyway, like I said, let's get into making these gorgeous. So in front of me, everybody, you can see that I do have my candles all sitting here in front, and I've just literally popped this label on just so I can show you, and I'll pop them on as we go along. I've already pre-made my labels in a Cricut machine, and they're just on this beautiful crystal clear adhesive labels. I actually get all of mine from Stanley Labels in Victoria, Australia, but there's lots of places you can get them from. I'm sure you can get them from, your local office supplier, and as well, Amazon probably has these because, let's be honest, Amazon has pretty much everything. So anyway, this is what I'm going to be doing and keeping with my beautiful white theme. I just wanted it to be neat, clean, and not too busy. Now this is my original one that I used to use. I'll still be keeping to this main label here, but these ones were a clear top and I decided to go to a top that had a proper lid on it, and also I wasn't wrapped in the silver, but when I got these, it's literally all I could get. So anyway, like I said, I'm changing them to these white ones, and then I just bought a box of 36 just to see what I thought of these, but I'm loving them, so I definitely will be buying them in bulk. And these little candle containers come from Aussie Candle Supplies. They'll hold about 90 grams of wax in them, and I'm going to tell you one thing I love about them. If we open them up, if you can see that this lid goes on the outside, not the inside, because I can't stand ones that go on the inside, and then you've got to be careful on when you put the lid on because it might quash the wax down. So these are really good. They go on the outside, so that's the reason I love them. It was either between these or the ones from Aroma, but I decided on these. They were a little bit less in price, which meant I didn't have to charge my customer the extra price as well, because after all, it is just a tin, isn't it? But to make these, there's a few things we need. So of course we've got our tins, the label that I want to pop on top. We do need to have some little stickums, and they're just to so that we can put all the wicks on the inside. And then of course I've got my Pro Wicks. As most of you know, I use the wood ones, so these are the ones I'm going to be using today. And these are a 12 millimeter one. So with Pro Wicks, where I get them from Aroma, they just come in millimeter sections. So they sort of start at 6 and then they go 6, 8, 9, 12 and so on. And then of course we need the clips, which also come with them, and I'll show you how I pop these on in a minute. I'm also going to be using this wax from Pure Candle Supplies. So this is a gorgeous wax, and this is the 100% pure soy. But the one thing I was going to tell you, make sure you tell your customers this is a natural product. So after they burn the candle once, it may not be 100% smooth, and that's fine. Don't worry about that, because sometimes I've noticed that does happen with soy. But, you know, it's always good to tell them so they know. And then we're going to do a few different scents as well today. I'm going to do some baby powder. This is from Aussie Candle Supplies. And then I'm also going to do this very vanilla. So this is actually one of my favorite vanillas. It's a gorgeous warm vanilla, and it's just absolutely lovely. And I get asked for it all the time. I'm out of it again. I always sell out. And then, of course, the pink peony. I sell so much of that. I can't keep up with that design, honestly. And these ones here as well, which is the Paradise one. And I changed some of the names. So don't think you have to keep the name. Change them and make an original name that suits your business as well. But anyway, before we do anything else, the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to pop these on the lids, and then we can move the lids away. The reason I've done this is so that way I'll know exactly what I've done, and then when I pour them, I'll sit the lids in front of each one so that I'll know. So I'll move this aside, and we're just going to move these over. So for instance, we're going to start with these ones here, which is your sweet peony. And if you can have a look, I've already put one on, and if you can see, it's just that beautiful clear. It almost shows the background, doesn't it, with the mirror reflection. So I've cut them with the Cricut. So if you can see, it's just a circle. And to fit these jars, I worked out that it had to be a 5mm. Honestly, it probably could be, 5 centimeter. I think, honestly, it probably could be like 5.3. And so I only want it to go on the inner rim of this. And so what I do is just really, really carefully hold these. And then you just stick it around once, and that's it. It's done. It's nice and easy. So like I said, you just got to peel off the bottom bit because it is an adhesive. So it's almost kind of like this sort of funny wrap. So take that off, and then you've just got this. And like I said, and then you just really easily put it on. If you make a mistake, you can pull it off, as you just seen then. And look how lovely these look. Now, one thing somebody has asked me is, I did have another subscriber say to me, they said, you know, like that I'm using a desktop, but if you go onto the website for this company, it does say to use, a desktop printer, but it actually says to use a laser. Yeah, it does say to use a laser. I don't have a laser. I use the desktop, and honestly, I've never had an issue. And all my things behind me are also printed the same way. So don't stress too much when you read things like that. You know, I just look, everything I've done, honestly, is trial and error. And I've learned a lot the hard way, because a lot of people just don't want to give away their secrets. But honestly, you should really feel that if your product's good enough, you shouldn't feel worried. You know, maybe this sounds a bit, I don't know how it sounds, but maybe, you know, it sounds a bit funny, me saying I'm not worried. I'm really not, because, you know, my customers that know me love my products, and they love my customer service, and I'm not worried at all. I mean, there's always going to be competition in any business, so you should expect that, and you shouldn't worry about competition. I always say respect it, don't worry about it. So as you can see, I've got my sweet peony here, a warm vanilla here. I'm just going to be doing a few of each, because I do still have maybe 60 in silver behind me, but I know they'll sell fast, especially when I go back to the markets, because these just fly off the shelves. And just to let you know, I sell these between $8 to $10 depending. And the one thing that you've got to remember too is each fragrance costs different amounts. So I've got some fragrances that I pay $65 for a 500 ml container, but then I have some that I only pay $24 for. So you probably really should charge accordingly, but rather than make it too confusing for customers, I just keep mine all at the same price. So these ones will probably be about $9. And, you know, and when you're calculating it, calculate the tin, the sticker, the wick, you know, the stickums, everything needs to be calculated to do these. And because I use quality ingredients, mine cost several dollars each to make one. And then, of course, I do need to be paid for my time. my electricity because I've got to warm up all the heaters, everything else. So I'm sure you get where I'm coming from. So never be scared to charge what you think your product is worth. So I'm just going to keep doing these and then we will do the next bit. Alright everyone, so we've done those bits there, and now the next bit that everyone should be doing is popping on these. These are warning labels. Honestly, I just buy mine in a small portion, and all you got to do is stick them on the bottom, and these ones fit perfectly on the bottom, and also that way I don't have to take off the annoying sticker that all the companies put on like that. I just literally pop it over the top. And the one thing too that is really important when you're actually buying a lot of these containers, because they kind of got like this paint over the top of tin, they can scratch. So if you're putting them on a shelf or something, or you're taking them to markets, my suggestion is wrap them up in some sort of bubble wrap or put a towel at the bottom or something. Usually I do put some tea towels at the bottom of the trays that I'm popping them on. And I think I will take them in smaller containers from now on rather than the massive ones, because they do get marked and you don't want them to get marked and then people complain. Honestly, I've never had anyone ever complain though about mine being scratched, and sometimes the tops can get a little scratch on them. I mean, I do try and make sure that they're, you know, sent out beautifully as well, but you never know, do you? And in most countries, I'm probably sure all countries, this is a legal requirement to put these on. So please do put them on. You don't want to ever send them out and then somebody tries to sue you because you haven't sent them out with a proper warning on. And if you're doing, if you're also doing sort of wholesale, you can do these as well. When I send out a lot of my parcels, I wrap up the candles in tissue paper and then I put one of these on the top. So that way they have a double warning. So they have a warning on the label and on the inside. So nobody can ever say that I don't put them on. So we'll continue doing these. And then I will take the lids off and we will pop on the wicks. If any of you don't know what size wick to use, the good thing to do is if you're using wood wicks like me, go to Aroma's website. So it's aroma.com.au, even if you're in another country, and it will give you a really good guideline as well on what to do with them. And what it does is you're going to measure one side to the other, the circumference of the jar, and once you know that, they'll give you an idea on the jar. When you're using this soy wax from Pure Candle Supplies, the one thing I've noticed is you need to wick up one. So you definitely need to. So I'll show you my candle I've been burning at the moment. This is one of my testers. And if you can see, it's left a tiny little edging. And that's just because I need to wick up a tiny bit. That wick's probably fine because it does definitely burn to the outside, but it leaves a tiny little bit that I don't like. So I always say just wick up one more. But, that's where testing comes in, doesn't it? We do need to test everything before we send it out to customers. So I'm going to get the next bit ready and then I'll be back and we will put all the clips on and get going. So we're just going to pop the wicks on, and these ones here that I'm going to be using are a 12mm, remember, and then they're going to go in here. You can clip these earlier if you want. Basically, one of these sticks will make for two of these, but we can cut them later if we want. I always generally cut them after. I just roughly cut them now, but then we will cut them again later. So like I just eyeball this as well because I know that these will be fine. I'm just going to stick them in as I've done them, and that way I know exactly what I'm doing. But of course we do have to stick these in. And always remember to clean out your jars. And so as you can see, I've cut these ones in half, and it does go for two. And then you can generally just buy extra clips as well, although I think a lot of suppliers have nothing at the moment. They're kind of out of everything. So I'll just keep going until I've put all these in here, and then we will pop the sticks on. So it's nice and easy. If I wasn't doing this video for you guys on YouTube, it'd be probably faster. I would literally sit down and do like a whole box of these wicks first. But for now, you know, just to show everyone the way I'm doing it, and hopefully I can help you all, I'll just do it a little bit of a longer way. And, you know, if you're doing wholesale, a good thing to do would be just doing a whole heap of, you know, like 50 or 100. I broke that one, you just seen that. You know, a good thing to do, just do 50 or 100 or something like that of the same scent. Because if you're doing the same scent, it's really easy. You just mix it up and just pour it in all of them. But I don't do wholesale. It's something I've chosen not to do. I did think about it, but then I just thought, no, I don't want to, because, you know, basically wholesale is quarter of the price that I sell mine for, which would mean I would literally need to sell these to, oh, sorry, half, not quarter. It means I'd have to sell these for like $3 or $4. And honestly, it's not worth my effort to sell them for $3 or $4. I wouldn't actually make enough money. I couldn't stay afloat with those kind of prices, so that's why I just decided no, and I just decided to sell them to the public, retail on my Shopify site, as well as my markets. Some of my things are like in a barber's salon as well. I have some candles, and also I have one that's my things are going into another shop as well. But I won't tell you too much about that because it's not confirmed yet, but that's where it's looking at going at this stage. And I don't sell them to any of these places cheaper. That usually what happens is I don't give them wholesale. Basically, they just keep a percentage of the profit. So they usually keep 10%. That's pretty normal. So we will keep going, and I will come back in just a moment. All right, everyone, I have started popping these in. So all we're going to do is, you literally got your clip. We're going to just be popping it through here as well, just on the end there. Pull off the end sticker because they do have like a double sticker on here. And then all we're going to be doing, we'll just take that one out of there. And if you have a look, it has 3 little dots. So in the center of those dots is exactly where we're going to pop it. So I'll just put it in there. And then that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I just go around and do each of these, like I said. And then we're going to be getting the wax ready as well. So I'm just going to pop them on here. While we're doing this as well, I am actually testing another candle, so I'll show you here. This is the same wick as well. It's only been burning maybe 20 minutes. So, and it looks like the melt pool will be pretty good. But of course we do need to test that. So always make sure you just test everything you're doing. And that way you know that you're selling a really good product, because you don't want somebody to complain. But honestly, my advice, if somebody complains, just give them a new one. It's just easier to give them a new one. Don't sort of fuss around and say, well, it's their fault, it's my fault, and, you know, whatever. I don't do that. It's better customer service just to give your customer a new product, you know, without all the complaining and arguing, because they can write a bad review about you and all these kind of things. So I generally, you know, try and help them as long as, you know, they haven't, you know, used the product in the wrong way. But usually I do just try and give them something in return. It's better just to do that. All right, so we've got everything ready here. So next what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making sure our wax is all good. So what I'm going to do is pop it in here for you. Now, for any of you that don't know, I actually use a slow cooker. That's what I actually warm all of my wax in. I still do it that way. I know it sounds like a big effort, and it is a big effort. But at this stage, I just haven't invested in something better. I wish I could, but at this stage I don't. And then I pour it all in this big container here, which is just this, and it's actually a Betty Crocker cake one. And the bit I like is the spout's really small, so you can get like really close like this inside. If you have a really long spout, you don't want to hold it up too high because it causes the air bubbles and gets a bit messy. So that's why I do this. And then I just have my little container here, which has already been used. And then I pop this in the slow cooker to get it out, put it in here, and then I'm going to weigh everything up on the scale. So I'll move the camera and then I'll pop it on the scale so you can see exactly what I'm doing. All right, everyone, we're back here. So now I do have my scale set up. Let me just turn it on because I forgot about that. And then, of course, you're tearing it out because you don't want to have this bit here putting the weight on. So if I take that off, the scale knows this is 284 grams. So I'll pop that on, then it comes back to 0. So now I know in my head how I'm going to calculate all my fragrances and so on. I generally use 8 to 9% fragrance load in mine, but you choose exactly what you want to do for your own waxes, and then that will come to do with testing as well. And this particular wax doesn't need a massive amount of fragrance load. Sometimes too much fragrance is too much because it will literally sit on top and then you can't use the candle. So for now, I know that I'm going to be, I want mine to be about 1,250 grams. That's what I'm going to be using, and then I will be popping in 100 grams as well. So, sorry, 1,000 grams. So I'm going to use 1,000 grams of wax and 100 grams of fragrance oil. So let me just pop this in, and this is just from my slow cooker. So it's warmed up, and then basically what I want to do is just test it. If you were going to put a colour in, this is when you would be putting the colour. You can pop the colour in now, but if you're not going to use a colour, then obviously we need this wax to come to the right temperature, and we will just test that in a minute. So it's like 1234. I'm not exact, so that's fine, because I know I'm going to put less, not more in. So now for this, we basically want to put in our fragrance at around 45 to 50 sort of degrees. That's what Pure Candle Supplies suggests, and I'm 100% this will be too hot for now. So usually the fragrance, I try and put the fragrance in at say 50-ish, and then I pour it around 48. So that will sort of give you an idea. They say just stir for a minute. I usually stir for 2 to 3 minutes, just to make sure I'm 100% right. So from here, we are going to just give it a bit of a test. We'll see what the temperature is, and it's really, really hot at the moment, so it's definitely not right. It's 89 degrees. Obviously, we need this to get down to 50, so I literally just leave this one here. And then on the top of my little candles, I'll show you what I'm actually doing. These are for my little sweet baby. I actually make tiny little embeds and they sit on top. But this one will sit on top of my big candle. Often my small ones, I don't actually put that on there at all. I don't put one on. Sometimes I put some sprinkles or something. But yeah, try and make your product really unique. And I always say, just don't copy someone else. Just come up with an idea that's really different. If you also want biodegradable glitters, don't pop them in here. It's better just to put a little bit on the top once it's sort of solidifying, because any micas or anything like that, so micas and whatever, they actually clog up the wick. So definitely don't use micas as colorants. You need to have either a wax block or you can use, you know, the little drops. To be honest with you, I've never ever used the liquid drops. Actually, no, I think I used it once, maybe years and years ago, maybe 15 years ago I used the drops once. But I have actually bought some new drops from Aussie Candle Supplies just to have a test of the pink. So when I get further on and we do the peony, I will actually add that pink in. But, you know, I won't add that one in until I add the fragrance in. But anyway, we're going to leave this for now, just sit here. And then once it's ready, I'll bring you back. We'll add the fragrance in and then we will get pouring and I'll show you that next bit as well. So, and you know, you always know what your scale is. So if you're going to leave it to cool down, just note the number of the wax that you've got in here so that you know. But I have a 100 ml container, so I know that's fine to go in there. And do remember, 100 mils does not equal 100 grams, but they're similar. But just do remember that as well. So, and sometimes they can put less or more in these, so you need to measure them up. But I do know that Aussie Candle Supplies are pretty good with their measurements. I've really never had any issues at all. So anyway, like I said, we'll get going and we'll be on to the next step very soon. All right, everyone, we're back again. So let's just check how our wax is going. So it's saying it's roughly 53 degrees, which that's fine for me to actually go and pop in my fragrance oil. So I'm going to be using the first one, my baby one, and I actually have run out of my big baby candles. So in here, I'm actually going to use some of this mixture to go in here and some to go in the tiny tins as well. And it just smells exactly like baby powder. So I'm going to pop it all in because, like I said, I've measured this to mix this whole container. And then literally we're just going to keep mixing this around for a couple minutes. And it's really important to keep mixing it. Now, something I was going to tell you as well that I have definitely noticed in my testing. The one thing I've noticed is when it comes to checking out and testing all your wicks, these wicks that, you know, like we were talking about before using these, which are my 12mm Pro wicks, I have definitely noticed in winter, because it's colder, sometimes they won't reach the exact end. So let me show you this. So this has been burning for maybe, I'm going to say 45 minutes. So the melt pool is close to the edge, but not totally to the end. So, you know, we probably could wick up maybe one. Maybe we could just wick up to a 13 instead of a 12. Or sometimes you might decide to go to a 14. But with this one, I have actually wicked up one more than what aroma even suggests. So that just goes to show how you need to test all the time. And if I go up 1 or 2, that means I'm going up more than a centimetre or so in the size of the jar that they suggest. So don't just go off what an actual supplier says and think that's fine, because it's not. Also, if you're putting biodegradable glitters and things like that on the top, that can honestly change the way it is. It can make the sort of the flame flicker a little bit as well. So yeah, anything like that honestly changes it. So you do need to test. As much as I hate saying that, you honestly do need to test. They say you should test, you know, when you're making, say for instance, this one's apple down the bottom there. So if I was doing an apple, they say in every batch you should test at least once. honestly, most people are not going to do that because they don't want to keep wasting one. But you need to test with the fragrance. So if you have a massive bottle of fragrance, you're going to use the same fragrance, the same wax. Just test once, but using all of the same ingredients. If it's a new batch of fragrance, then you may need to test again. So like I said, these are all things that are part of candle making, and that's why candles shouldn't be sold for $3 or $4, because it costs a lot of money to test, make them, all the products, the labels, the time, the labor. There's just so many things involved with making candles. So it's not a matter of just waking up, making them and then taking them to the market and selling them. That's honestly not how it works. So you do need to honestly test quite a bit to make sure that you're getting the product that your customer actually wants. Anyway, I just thought I'd add that in there because a lot of people say to me, oh, is it really easy? And no, it's actually not. So if you're doing candles and you're frustrated and thinking, oh my God, they're not working, I can't stand this, you'll be like every other candle maker that goes through this, experienced or not. We all go through exactly the same thing of having to test and saying, why isn't that wick working? It was working with the last fragrance or the last color. Even the dyes can actually change the way that they work as well. So do check that. But in saying that, I bought some candles that I actually bought one for my daughter from a really well-known brand. It was very expensive. The candle was like $69 for a medium to large size, so it was quite high in price. And it was honestly it was the design of the candle too, because it looked beautiful. It smelled absolutely gorgeous, but honestly, it only that much in the middle of the candle was what melted. All around the outside, a good inch on either side, did not even melt. So there was no full melt pool at all. So the best and best of designers sometimes have these things happen. So don't feel too upset with yourself if it happens. And on the same time, you actually don't want your candle to get too hot, because that means, a glass jar or anything could crack. So you can't over wick it either. So it's easy to say, oh, I'll just go up 2 and that will be fine. No, you can't really do that. You really do need to test and test. So like I said, it's hard. I can't really give you an exact answer of what's right and what's wrong, because I don't think either is right or wrong. But anyway, like I said, it's just, I thought we'll just talk about that, why I'm here, mixing this and waiting, and patience. Patience is exactly what we need to have when doing candles as well. And even when I make them, I don't just let them be sold straight away. Really, soy waxes need to sit for a couple weeks. 10 days to 14 days is normal to let them sit, just to cure a little bit. And don't think, oh, well, it's going to be in the mail for 2 weeks, so that's fine, because it might get there fast and they might use it and then they're a bit disappointed. I've definitely noticed lighting a candle straight away to waiting can really change it as well. Anyway, I think this is pretty much ready. Let me just check it one more time. Yep, that's all good. So I'm going to pop the camera down and then we'll start pouring these, and you can see how gorgeous these will be. All right, everyone, so we are here ready to pour. I've got my jug, and if you can see, I could just give it a quick, stir around a bit as well, and then I'll just slowly pour in here. Don't rush it too much. If you rush it too much, then it can look a little ugly. So there's a line in these ones, so then I know where the line is. That's around the 90 grams, but I will just double put it on my scale, and it definitely is. It comes to 93, so I know that that's fine. And, if you're not sure, or there's no line to be able to tell on your candle jars, do make sure that you're measuring it, because there is actually a legal requirement in Australia to make sure that you are giving a customer what you're saying is in the jar. You can't just, roughly think, oh, well, yeah, it looks roughly like that. It has to actually be the right amount in the jars. So I'm going to make sure these ones are all done. And often I just give a little extra, because sometimes wax shrinks. So you don't want it to shrink and then there's not enough in the jar. So I know that I've got 6 of these sweet babies. So we'll make sure we've got these. And I'm going to pour my big one as well to make sure I have enough in that. So I know I've got 5 of these, but let me just pour this one here because I don't want to not have enough for this one. I've had lots and lots of customers that ask me for this Sweet Baby one. And as I would have said before, I don't put a colour in this. I'll just put a tiny bit of biodegradable glitter on when we're finished. And so now I'm just going to do another one in these. And if ever I have any left, I usually make samples up, which I'll do. I actually have like a chocolate mold one, which I'll grab it to show you. And this is what I make my wax melts in. So if I have enough, I either make some wax melts or I will actually, you know, just do some samples and snap the bar off for people in this, and it gives them an idea what the candle will be like. So like I said, we'll get going with this one and I will come back when I'm going to do the next one. So I am back now. So I've done a few different candles, which I'll show you the ends of those. You can probably see a couple just sitting here. But what we're going to do is put some tops on them later, so I'll show you what I'm going to do. But in my little container here, I've got some more wax again because I am doing pink peony now. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to actually add in this, which is just some little drops. So these ones here, it says it's a concentrated candle drop. So these are designated for candles to give them color. So don't go using ones that is not designated for candles. As I said earlier, you know, mica will clog up the wick if you use it. They're fine to use actually in melts, but just not in candles. Anything without a wick, they're fine. And then these, you just add one at a time, and they are really, really potent. So don't go thinking, well, I'm just going to do a big squirt, because you may regret that. And it's like, if you can just see what I just did then, it's literally like so strong. I'm just going to see if you can see that little bit in the bottom, if you can see that kind of bit there. They're so strong. And then of course I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I know it was a bit hard to see because this container is actually you know, red. So, but I'm going to get some paper towel and I will show you. A good way also to find what your color is just get a piece of paper or some paper towel and just drop a couple colors on, and then you can see that's how pink it's going to be. So I think maybe I might just do one more drop, and that was with one drop. So like I said, that it's really, really strong. Unless you want a strong one, do remember also in winter, you'll get a lot of frosting on your candles because it is, you know, it's just cold. So if you actually start, you know, and when I say cold, you know, anything sort of below room temperature, even like 20 degrees is a bit cold in winter and will create the frosting. And I've just noticed that a lot myself because, as you guys know, I do quite a few candles in colors. But you know, I mean, I've seen some girls do some beautiful, gorgeous, absolutely lovely, bright colored ones. I've never been able to achieve that without, you know, frosting. I mean, when I get frosting, I don't get a lot, but every now and then you can just get one candle and it sort of ruins the look. It's not going to hurt the candle, but, you know, everyone goes, oh, you know, because it doesn't look as good. So definitely that's one thing that, you know, I've definitely noticed about that. So, you know, if it's not the right temperature, then you'll get frosting. So, but if you keep your colors to a pale color, you're not going to have that issue. So once again, you know, this is what it looks like here. That's the color. So we'll just do a couple more drops and you can see it's much brighter with the second drop on there. So, and if you let it dry, this will give you a rough idea what it's going to look like. And then it doesn't look any different in here. I mean, honestly, it looks a little bit pinky. You can probably see that through the camera. But, you know, now we've just got to let it get to its right temperature before we put in the fragrance oil. And I'll actually get a candle I made the other week when it was really cold. And honestly, I should have known it was too cold. And I'll show you the frosting on it so you can see what I mean. So if you can see this lime green, how it just has that little frosting over the top, like it's not terrible, but I can definitely notice it. And around the outside where it's that mint color, because it's pale, you're not going to notice that at all. But yeah, even when you're outside and doing markets, you definitely notice that a lot more. So it is something to keep your eye out for if you don't like it. And, you know, it will turn a few customers away. I mean, unless you get, you know, a really good base of customers, to be honest, I'm so grateful that I really do have a good amount of customers that, you know, have used my stuff and they really love it. So, you know, they're going to come back, and if it had a little bit of frosting, they wouldn't care. They'd still buy the candle. But that takes time, you know, like this, you know, the one thing too, for any of you that are trying to get your name out there, can I honestly tell you, this takes such a long time for people to love what you do and trust you and trust your product. They don't just come and buy hundreds of dollars in one go to start with. You might be lucky for them to buy a $3.95 wax melt, and then they'll return. And that's what happened to me. And then they return because they love it. So I had a lady that started buying, you know, $4 or $5 product, and now she will come to a market and spend $100 or $200 or sometimes more dollars on my products, because she loves it and she trusts the product, and she knows if there's an issue. I always tell her, if there's an issue, call me and I'll replace it. And I really haven't had to do that at all with her. Only one thing got broken in the mail and I replaced it straight away. But that's what I mean. It's all customer service, isn't it? So if you're doing all of that, your customers will trust you. And if you're doing wholesale, well, then all your retailers, they'll trust you as well and return. So like I said, just come up with a real unique idea, or even a unique kind of brand, something that no one else can have. And I think I've talked about this before. The brand in my images, like if you can see that pink around the outside and the grey, that is actually an image of one of my soaps that I've done, and then I've altered it so no one else will have that. So that makes my product a little bit more unique than someone else that was just white and with black writing. But anyway, like I said, it's just a few tips that I hope I can help you guys with. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make all of these ones. I'll bring you back at the end and I'll show you how I change the tops of my candles and make mine a little bit more unique. So I'm back, everybody, and now I'm going to show you how I do a few of the tops. Some of these ones are still drying, my pinks and so on, and I will bring you back at the end just to show you all of them and the tops that I do. So this one here is the sweet baby one that I do, and then as I showed before, these are my tiny little baby shoes that I make, also out of wax. So I use this out of the 100% soy wax. I don't use any paraffins or anything. I know that they can harden up things, but I just don't use them. So now all we need is a heat gun. This one actually came with my machine that I have, my whole shrink wrap machine. So I don't think you can buy this one by itself, but you can get the whole machine and everything online. But just go to your local hardware store. Any one of these, even like a hobby one's fine. So all I'm going to do is just go over the tops just to be able to give it, you know, just to sort of melt it a little bit, because we need this to be able to stick. And I'll show you exactly what I do. But I also forgot that I need my biodegradable glitter that I also pop on my sweet baby. So let me be 1 second. So I'm back. So here is the biodegradable glitter one that I put on my sweet baby. So I'm just going to put some music on so you can hear me, because obviously we'll melt this and then I'll come and tell you what I'm doing. So you can see that I've melted all the way around, and so now what we're going to do is I just literally get my little booties and we're just going to sit them in here, and then I just pop some biodegradable glitter on the top, and then the sweet baby is done. I won't lift it up because obviously everything will come out of that. And now what we're going to be doing is doing these. These are also sweet baby, this first one, and the second one's vanilla. So I'll just show you exactly what I'm going to do with these. The same process. I just heat all of these up, and you've seen that I didn't heat it up too much, just so that it's a little bit liquefied on the top, and hold it like that and far off the thing. And then I've just got these tiny baby little clouds, and these are little candies, and I'm just going to pop these on the top. The same thing with some biodegradable glitter, because obviously I can't make more shoes like this one here and put them on, because they'll be too high and the lid won't go on. I've just done the first two here, so all I'm going to do is literally drop in my tiny little clouds, which are just in blue and pink, which represents a little baby. And then of course I'm going to just pop on a tiny bit of biodegradable glitter. Don't put on too much, because if you actually pop on too much glitter, it will clog up the wick. But a little bit on the top is fine. There's no problems at all with just doing that. And I can show you this one so you'll be able to see. It's just a tiny little bit, and it looks really cute. If I can make them in wax, I definitely do, but every now and then for tiny ones, I'll just put a bit of sprinkles on. And then this vanilla one here, I do have some biodegradable glitter, which is in this gorgeous kind of a goldish type color, which I get from Sud Off in Australia. And then I'm going to pop that on the top of these. So let me just finish these ones off. I only do 2 at a time, because you don't want the wax to, you know, seal over too fast as well. And as I said before, I don't make it really watery, just a real tiny bit, because you don't want to ruin the tops as well. And now the last thing that I would need to do for these is to put obviously my label around here, and then I will take photos of them and pop them on my website. Honestly, the photography and everything just takes such a long time, and that's why I do say to everyone, please don't just do these super cheap. Because, you know, you need to be paid for your time. I mean, as you can see today, this video has gone for a while, because I'm just showing you how beautiful you can make a candle and gorgeous you can make them. And, you know, when I say a luxury candle, to me, a luxury candle is something that looks absolutely beautiful. It's taken a lot of time to make them, and, you know, and they're made of natural ingredients such as soy. So, I mean, obviously they do have fragrance oil, which isn't natural, but, you know, we're getting it as natural as we can and beautiful. So to me, that is a luxury candle. It's not plain. It's something that's really fancy, and it's a beautiful gift. So for $8, I still think it's actually a bit of a bargain. And anyway, so like I said, that's sort of why I talked to you about all this. And then, of course, you can see this one. I'll show you up close now that it's solidified again. And I mean, look how gorgeous that looks. And I think that's why I sell a lot of these ones. And just so that you know, these big ones, which are my 400 grams, I sell these for $35 to $38 depending. Like, it really does depend on the price that I charge, because it would depend on lots of things, because some fragrance are more expensive. So my ones with the candy around the outside, the clear jars, I actually charge $3 more, and that just pays for the candy. So but yeah, so $35 to $38 is, I think, a good price for that. It's not too cheap, not too expensive, and it is affordable, and it must be, because these big ones are definitely my biggest seller. So anyway, like I said, let's go and do these ones here, and I'll show you what I'll do. So we'll just move this out the way, and I'll pop this big one in. I made this one in vanilla as well, in the warm vanilla, just so I can show you. So I'm going to heat this one up, and we'll put some glitter on. And the best way to tell with these ones here that I'm doing is when I warm it up, you won't be able to see any like little air bubbles or little dots on top. And that's how you know that this is good enough for biodegradable glitter. So it does need to be melted down a bit for the glitter to stick. And all I do is get like a little brush or something, pop it on the end of your brush like so, and then we're just going to shake it in there. And one little bit on the end of the brush is more than enough, and that's all I'm going to do. And I'll do all of these ones the same as well. So let me just put on the glitter on these. I don't put the lids on for a while either because they will still be a little bit warm. So I usually leave the lids off until tomorrow. So until the next day, a good 5 hours, I just leave the lids off because you don't want to get any sweating or anything on your candle. That would be a little bit sad and disastrous. And anyway, like you can see, then these ones are done. I'll see if I can show you without tipping it over. But they look really, really beautiful anyway. I will do, you know, I'll go over the top of them all so you can see. So each one that I do, as I'm showing you, you know, you can see how I make them all really different. And people pick them up and say, oh my God, they're so pretty because they're just different. So make sure you do something unique. You know, your unique idea might be, you know, rainbow candles or candles that done on edges or like, you know, with sprinkles on or... you know, you might have splashes of paint on the top, which I've done one like that. But, you know, there's so many things that you can do. Botanicals on top, you know, with botanicals, be careful. You don't want to add very much at all on that. But anyway, it's just sort of a bit of an example, you know, what I can tell you as well. So, you know, don't worry too much. And now I'm just going to show you this candle while we're talking. If you can see, this has like a kind of a gritty look on the top because this one's, it's not totally solidified yet. But, you know, if you get something like that and you're not happy with it, sometimes that can actually just be the way it is because like we'll show you this one here. This is from the same mix and this one's fine. So all you're going to do is just heat over the top of them and they'll be fine. They'll come back really good. But sometimes it just happens no matter how careful you are. And I do notice when I make my black licorice candles, I often have to go over the top because they often get rough. And I actually think it's because of the fragrance is quite strong, which is good. You want a strong one. But if you can kind of see, this isn't 100% perfect. And that's because that one there is my black licorice, and I will also be popping on something on those in a moment. And just so that I know exactly what's in them, at the very front here, which you can't see, but I do have like just one lid for each one so that I know, you know, which one I'm actually up to at the moment. So now we will do these ones here because these are good enough. These are my black licorice, and I'm not going to be putting on a black cat that I would usually put on my big ones. These little ones, I'll just put like a little black heart, a candy heart or something, and it still represents that black licorice. So I'm going to do those ones, and then like I said, these ones here are my peony rose, and the same thing, you know, I'm just going to put a scatter of roses, dry roses on the top, not many at all. Don't put a lot on because you know, you'll hear lots of people talking about not putting botanicals on. They can catch on fire, but a couple tiny little petals is okay. So in here is my colourful ones here. These ones are like got lots of blacks in, and they do have a few little hearts. So I'm literally just going to take these tiny baby black hearts out. If you can see that one on the end of my finger, hopefully you can see that. And then that is going to be just sitting on top to make my black licorice. So we'll do these ones next. So as you can see, it doesn't need to be a massive amount of things, just something pretty and a little bit different. So I'll see if you can see that one. Hopefully you can, but like I said, I will promise to go over the top of them later, and I'll pop them down. The only one that I'm going to tell you that I did once, I actually put a candy on one of them, and it was like a gingerbread man candy, and that just smudged and the color went crazy. So you got to be careful with colors, but that's the only one that I've ever had an issue with. So anyway, I'll go and get some roses, and then I'm going to pop them on these ones. Now there's different types of rose ones that you can get. So, but these ones here that I buy, these ones come from Sud Off in Australia. So, and they're really tiny. So they're just like this here that you can see here. So let me just put the heat gun over the top, and I'll show you how many I'll put on. And like I said, it's not many at all. It really isn't. And then I'm literally just going to drop a couple like that, and that is it. So it's not many at all. It's just a tiny little amount, and that's not going to affect anything. So I'll fix all of these ones up. And then for tonight, I'm going to leave it at the ones I've done. I'll come back tomorrow, do the other ones, and then I'm going to give you a bit of a show over of everything I've done. And because I do have one more, the paradise feathers to do. And but the paradise feathers I do in a big one. It's super popular. It's like a vanilla with a tropical fruit, and I do that in a peach one, so I'll show you in the big one. So this is the big one. So as you can see, so that is the paradise one. So I'll be doing the same in one of these, and I try and make sure that they're all matching. So if someone picks up the small or large, they know exactly what it is. And just make sure any of these candies and things you're using, just keep them away from children, because obviously they've been near soaps or candles, and we don't want kids getting into that. All right, everybody, I have totally finished. So here is the look of them all. I have finished all of the tins, and then these are their labels on here. So I've actually done the labels with a pre-cut printable vinyl, and they really do look really, really lovely, and I'm so happy with the end result. Let me know what you think, but hopefully you love the video and it has helped you. I know it's been a super long video, and I'm sorry for that, but I didn't want to leave anything out because I thought it may actually help all of you, you know, anyone that's having questions or didn't know something about the process. So anyway, hopefully this has helped, and I'll see you on the next video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, only if you think it's worthy, of course.